What's up everyone, today I'm trying out Hitmontop in the Open Ultra League. Hitmontop has gotten access to the new move Triple Axle, which has given it an option to boost its attack, also to bait with, and its nice coverage versus like ground types, grass types, dragon types and flying types. So overall good addition to Hitmontop, which has catapulted it to the number 29 spot on the PvPoke rankings. But is it worthy of that position? That's what we're trying out today. In this team with Greedent and Cresselia, I talked a bit about this team in my team's video for Open Ultra League, so go check that out if you want more information on why this team and also other teams, so go check that out. Anyway, for now we're heading into this battle. Started off with Hitmontop versus Drapion, which is a fine lead, so they switched out into Fini eventually, which I have Cresselia for. I'm not running Grass Knot on this Cresselia, by the way. I think Moonblast is necessary to beat Giratinas and Dragonites too. And Future Sight I need for Charizard, as Hitmontop does really struggle with Charizard. So that's why I run those two moves. And I don't think Grass Knot is really required. Most of the Pokemon you beat with Grass Knot, like Tapu Fini, Swampert, you also beat without Grass Knot, just a little closer. Anyway, straight into this matchup. Hitmontop versus Trevenant in the end game. Previously Hitmontop had no play, but now with Triple Axle I already brought this Trevenant into the yellow health, and we took a shield, which is pretty nice. Now I'm just gonna go for the third. Honestly, I could have also just switched Ingredient here right now, but this is Hitmontop Showcase, so I wanted to see how far I could bring Hitmontop here. Unfortunately, I don't get to another one. Hitmontop is pretty squishy, which well meant it almost got Shadow Claw down there. Unfortunately, I couldn't reach the fourth Triple Axle, but that's fine. Greedent can just clean up the game now. They did make a nice catch on their Drapion here, which they end up surviving at 1 HP and still getting to the Crunch. Not ideal. Crunch gonna be the hardest hitting move, so I shielded up. And now this Trevenant's gonna need like 3, maybe even 4 Seed Bombs to take down my Greedent, which before that I will definitely reach my Crunch. And they realize, so they concede the match. GG. Okay, Swampert lead kind of even here. I know I can take one Hydro, so I'm just going to take the first and then throw my Close Combat after. Going to throw it right before the next Hydro Cannon, of course. Close Combat does debuff your defenses, but since a Hydro Cannon will knock me out anyway, I don't mind doing that right now, as I'm going to have to use a shield anyway if I want to win this matchup. Looking at this health, I think I should be able to farm down the Swampert now before they reach another Hydro Cannon, which I do. And now I have a lot of energy loaded for what comes in. It's a Dragonite. I throw the Triple Axle. Do they expect this? They do not. And the Dragonite almost gets taken out. They have a Machamp in the back. But Cresselia has such a hard wall there that they realize it's over and they concede the game. Ooh, Charizard lead is pretty tough for this line. Honestly, I have nothing that really does amazing versus it. But both Greedent and Cresselia have a lot of player. Pretty sure Cresselia wins most shield scenarios actually. Greedent is a little rougher, but still Body Slam spam is definitely threatening, especially if I start shielding the Blast Burns correctly, which I did there. Now they switch out into Swampert. After this Wing Attack chip damage, 2 Hydro Cannons might be enough here. Does seem like they are. I'm going to be able to get to 2 Body Slams before that though. Maybe even threaten a shield here. No, doesn't look like it. Greedent is very spammy, but it's very, very bulky, low attack, so these Body Slams don't really do that much. Yeah, they're going to be able to take the next one just fine. And they miscount there. They were actually already over their second Hydro Cannon. It's 5 Mitchells for the first Hydro Cannon, by the way, 4 for the second, and then 5 for the third again. But they were already there. Once I threw my second Body Slam, actually, they were already there, but they decided to overfarm because it's kind of difficult to keep track of Greedent's energy sometimes. If you don't know, it's 4 per Body Slam. And that's like deceivingly fast. It's like super, super fast. So, opponent miscounted there. They should bring in their Charizard to my Hitmontop right away, which is giving me a chance now. As if I shield this Blast Burn, I should be able to outpace the Charizard here, get to the Future Sight right before the Blast Burn, or so I thought. I might have miscounted here, but no, it's just a Dragon Claw. So I did count correctly. Throw my Future Sight right before the next Blast Burn. This should take him out, but it actually doesn't. Does put him in nice farm down range for Cresto. What is it in the back? It's gonna be Giratina. This is pretty fine. Now at this point, I thought the only way I was gonna lose was if this Giratina had Shadow Force. And in my mind, Shadow Force was 80 energy, which is 10 Shadow Claw. So I switched on the 10th, but apparently it's 12. it's 12 Shadow Claws for a Shadow Force. A Shadow Force is 90 energy, which is crazy. Actually, that's a crazy amount of energy for a move to cost. But yeah, that's apparently... most of you probably already knew this, but I learned that yesterday, that it's actually 90. And because of that switch into Hitmontop, was able to take out my Hitmontop and then also farm up enough energy to get to her Dragon Claw plus a Shadow Sneak here. But this might not knock me out. It does though, and we lose the match just barely. Still though, that was a horrible lead and this team was almost able to get back from it. So yeah, I think Charizard lead might look very, very bad here, but I think in some cases you'll be able to beat them. Anyway, Swampert here versus my Greedent. This is a regular Swampert and they haven't done any chip yet, which means they're going to need an Earthquake. And a Hydro Cannon to knock me out. Actually, a Hydro Cannon might not even be enough just yet. Gonna keep Body Slam spamming. Another move coming in right here. Threw it on the CMP tie. That's fine, because this Hydro Cannon won't knock me out just yet. Greedent is like incredibly tanky. Body Slam. Gets fired off into the Swampert, brings it into the red. Do I get there? Yeah, I barely outpaced this Swampert. They are another Hydro Cannon right now, though. Are they gonna let this go? They do give me switch. I don't want to go shield down, and this is great because now I can get my Cresselia on the Tapu Fini. Like I said earlier, without Grass Knot, this matchup is a little more iffy, but Future Sight plus Moonblast should still be enough later in the game as a Scizor now comes in. Very interesting pick. I'm thinking they probably have Iron Head, so I'm gonna shield that. Other moves, X-Scissor, Night Slash, they are cheaper, but it's a very risky bait versus Hitmontop, so I wasn't expecting them to bait. I bait though, as they kind of need this Scissor on my Cresselia, I guess. So go for the triple axle, boost attack, and that means that if I shield an Iron Head correctly here, I should be able to farm this Scizor all the way down with Hitmontop, have a close combat store to hit a Tapu Fini. Now close combat is resisted of course, but coming from a reasonably high attack Pokemon like Hitmontop with an attack buff, it actually does a decent chunk of damage. By the way, my Hitmontop is a Hundo level 50. Yes, that is its actual level 50 CP. It is kind of disappointing. So if you want to run Hitmontop, probably best to try to best buddy it as well to gain a little bit more stats. Anyway, another Tapu Fini lead. Pretty bad. I switch into Greedent again. Out comes Gliscor. That's pretty bad for my team as well. I think everything loses. Actually, you know, Hitmontop does have triple axle. I think I've played with triple axle there. Cresselia is incredibly bulky. Double Moonblast or Moonblast Future Sight probably knocks out. And Greedent is spammy. I have a lot of play versus Gliscor, but it's definitely not an ideal Pokemon to face. Gliscor gets their Night Slashes pretty quickly. Not as fast as Greedent though. But with wing attacks, this damage is definitely stacking up just as fast. Gonna get to another Body Slam here. This doesn't knock out the Glide. It will bring it pretty close. Do I get to another move before that Night Slash? I do, just barely. This will knock out the Glide if they let it go. That'd be ideal. But unfortunately, they shielded at this point. I don't think I can much shot down, so I'm not gonna go for that. Could maybe shield this and get like 2 shields down on their side, but I didn't think it was worth it. I'd rather just farm it down with the top. Yeah, actually they already had another move as well, so couldn't go for the Body Slam right there. This point, I'm just hoping that Cress can sweep. And with Zard in the back, this might be possible. Double Future Sight will probably be enough to take him out. Future Sight plus farm down to let this go. Oh, they do let that go. This looks like a very bulky Zard though, which might mean this farm down is kind of risky. I'm gonna go for the shield. I'm not expecting a bait. You know, Cresselia is so bulky that generally Pokemon will not bait against you, since they are not expecting a bulk Pokemon to use a shield generally. So they go for double Blast Burn, which is safely shield up, and I'm able to fully farm down. This puts me in a really good spot now. I'm gonna go for the Moonblast on Tapu Fini. And this is a matchup where I would wish I would have had Grass Knot, but if I had Grass Knot, I would not have been able to take out that Charizard. So, still fine with this moveset. Again, Moonblast with Future Sight is the way. Doesn't do enough on this Vinny. Again, this is a very bulky Pokemon. Just gonna let this move go. And now I need to try to fast move it down. So after this Moonblast, I'm actually gonna switch it to Hitmontop, so that I'm able to get in a few counters whilst they're basically energy dry, and that is enough to knock them out. Charm, Alolan, Ninetales lead. If it was Powder Snow, I would have stayed in there. But since it's Charm, I definitely gotta switch out into Greedent and have a very good answer in Machamp in the back, which is, yeah, really bad for Greedent. But I can definitely get to another Body Slam here. Unfortunately, it's not going to be enough to knock out the Machamp, though. There's no point in shielding either, since they did overfarm with their Machamp versus my Greedent. So if I try to get to another Body Slam, they're just going to outpace me. And I'm going to be a shield down and lose switch. So yeah, I just decided to let Greedent go. I did get Machamp low enough to where I could farm down with Hitmontop. And now I just want to throw a close combat on this Alolan Ninetales before I'm going to dip out into Cresselia. Does take a shield, which is very nice. Out comes Cresselia. They overfarm a lot. Since they have such high fast move pressure, I'm gonna shield this Weather Ball, even though it wouldn't do too much. I don't want to get Charmed down later, so that's just a strategy. Whenever you see a Pokemon with such high fast move damage, like Alolan Ninetales, generally you're gonna want to try to shield up the little moves too. Oh, this Swampert, I didn't realize it had gotten 2 mud shots already when switching in. I thought it had only gotten 1. So I throw this Future Sight on the charge attack priority, which, yeah, is a mistake, because now I get no farm going back into the A9. And this might actually end up costing me. This A9 has a lot of energy, and I knew that if I would take a Weather Ball, I wouldn't be able to get to double Moonblast, which is needed to knock this thing out. So I tried to catch it on my Hitmontop, like a pretty weird time. I thought, you know, I needed to take a chance there. My opponent was obviously over-farming quite a bit, so I felt I needed to take a chance with that catch at some point, and that's the point I picked. It didn't work out. That's okay. GG's, well played by my opponent there. Next game, ooh, Dragonite lead. I opt to stay in here. I thought that Triple Axle was 6 counters for some reason, but no, Triple Axle is 40 energy. No, it's 45 energy, which means you need 7 counters to get there. So this Dragonite actually outpaces me quite a bit. Still, I get a shield with the Triple Axle there. I'm going to switch to 5 more counters, as it's 12 counters worth of energy of Dragon Breath to get to double Dragon Claw. So I switch from my 12 counter there basically to catch the Dragon Claw onto Greedent, and out comes Registeel. Now this is pretty bad. This is pretty bad, and honestly, it's when I realized maybe I should have played this a little differently. I thought getting a shield with and some counter damage into the Dragonite with Hitmontop would have been a nice play. But I think I would have rather switched it to Greedent immediately, because the problem now is that this Registeel is going to be able to Focus Blast and completely farm me down. And it's going to come out of this matchup with a Zap Cannon loaded, probably 100 energy. Which means, even if I come in Hitmontop here and shield, I won't be able to farm it down. If I had 2 shields, I might have been okay here. But since I don't have 2 shields, I'm going to actually take the Zap on Cress, then bring in Hitmontop to save my shield. Throw the Triple Axle on this Dragonite, which, so far, this is, like, fine, but the Registeel is still on the back, and this is pretty awkward. If I just switched in Greedent versus Dragonite immediately, and they would have brought in the Registeel, then I might be able to fully counter it down with Hitmontop, have, like, 2 Triple Axles loaded for a Dragonite, and actually come out of that interaction with an advantage, because I'd be able to double Triple Axle, sextuple Axle, the Dragonite, take 2 shields, bring in Cress, and maybe sweep with Cress. But now, yeah, I'm gonna have to use my Cress on Registeel, which is pretty bad, pretty bad. We're not even gonna see the next Pokemon, unfortunately. That's the reason why I didn't switch in Greedent, by the way, is because I thought if I switch in Greedent, they're just gonna stay in with Dragonite, Superpower, and Dip, and then I'm a shield down, and I'm still in a bad spot. So, but if they do that, like, they've just played well, they get the win. Now they played, like, good too, but I kind of handed them the win as well. Like, with the way I played it, like, I couldn't have won, basically. Anyway, next game, we get Cresselia on Tapu Fini, which is good. Pretty good. Again, Moonblast, Future Sight is the way. I'll throw Moonblast first, because generally, they don't expect the Future Sight second. They're like, oh, I can survive this. It's just a Moonblast. Nope. You're out. You're out. GG. Alright, we've taken Switch now. Which is good, but Escavalier is still kind of scary. If it has like Aerial Ace, can hit Hitmontop. It's not that strong of a move, but Hitmontop's pretty squishy. Will do a lot of damage. It's gonna get a lot of energy here. Can't really farm down Cress though. Cress is such a monster. If you learned anything from this video, it should be that Cress is still incredible. Absolutely incredible. Ooh, Sylveon. Luckily, we have Greedent in the back, which is a neutral matchup monster. With this body slam spam, it will definitely be able to win versus most Charmers. Maybe not on the 2 shields, but 0s and 1s are generally very okay for Greedent. I'll shield up the Psyshock. At this point, I thought that might be a mistake, because I'm still kind of worried about the Escavalier, honestly, for no reason. Because even if the Escav was to farm down my Greedent, I could probably get a crunch on it in the process, which would put him low enough to where I can just farm down Escavalier with Hitmontop, I mean. Farm down the Escavalier with Hitmontop. They've used a shield on Sylveon now, though, which is amazing. I'm going to throw his body slams, won't knock out. But my switch is up, so I'm actually going to switch, because I want that counter down. But they also switch it to Escav, which is really nice. Just going to let this first move go. I know an Aerial Ace wouldn't knock me out. And just in case they have Spray, which they did, I don't want to shield that. So, yeah, it was a good play. Go for the close combat now. Knocks out the Escavalier. And now we farm down the Sylveon. GG. Okay, another Charizard lead. Switch into Greedent. This time it's a regular Zard. So I don't really have to shield a Blast Burn. I also am expecting they definitely throw Blast Burn, so I was really considering shielding this, but I'm no shielding since I want to keep shields up this time for my Hitmontop. But they actually bait, which is great. And then bring out Greninja, which is a very interesting Pokemon. Pokemon I didn't name in my top team video, because I don't think it's as good as Swampert, but it's definitely good, and it pairs well with Charizard. So if you've got a Greninja build from the recent community day, yeah, definitely go give it a try. It is, I think it's a good Pokemon for sure. Hydro Cannon spam. You can't really go wrong with Hydro Cannon spam, to be honest. Shield is up, so I want to shield down. Cress and Hitmontop do better versus the Zard in the back if I got a shield or 2 down. So that's why I shield there. Go for the body slam. And I don't think they end up shielding, which is awkward. Because Zard 2 shields is very bad for me. They end up going back into it though. Can hit him with the body slam. Maybe take a shield here. But they don't shield. What now? Since they gave up Switch, I'm expecting there to be another counter to Hitmontop in the back. Why would they give up Switch if there's like a Pokemon weak to Hitmontop in the back, right? So that's why I just sack Hitmontop here, hoping I can sweep with Crest now. Thinking it's like, I don't know, like maybe another fighter. But no, it's a Drapion, and I would have really liked Hitmontop there, so yeah. Still, with a shield advantage, I think the Drapion would have been tough to deal with, so I still think my play was fine. It just wasn't a winnable game, unfortunately. Next match, Poliwrath lead. Scald comes in, and they get the attack drop, which is actually huge here. Okay, wait a turn here. Important when you're running these self-debuffing moves. If you're playing versus counter user here, for example, with your own counter user, a move is gonna sneak through if you throw your close combat, which means that move is gonna do a lot of extra damage as you're debuffing yourself. Unless you wait a turn before throwing your move, wait for that counter damage to come in whilst you're not debuffed, and then throw your move. It's very precise timing. You have to throw it on the turn you're taking the damage, otherwise you're just gonna sneak in another move. But the way I did it here was I waited that turn, I let him get that move. They would have snuck anyway, take the damage, and then throw the close combat, and that allowed me to take less counter damage and get off my next close combat too. Actually, I think I would have had enough health to get off to the next close combat anyway, but sometimes you won't have that health, and then doing a play like that will really help you out. And I might have gotten extra counter damage in because of that. Anyway, Alolan Muck came in here. It's very fine for Greedent. I'm expecting this to be a Poliwrath Double Dark Poison line. It's a line I've seen on my graphic. So it's not great for Cress, but Cress is a lot of play versus most Dark Poisons, especially if I keep Greedent alive. I no shield the first spray, shield the second though, as could have been a Dark Pulse, and I definitely want to shoot Dark Pulse, because that would knock me out. Anyway, since I'm like super debuffed now, switch to Cress instantly, and it ends up being Venusaur. Another reason to run Future Sight, because this does a lot of damage. Now, just build up to the Bull Blast, knock him out. And that is a GG to finish off this video. Final verdict, Hitmontop. I think it's good. It's good. Is it worth the number 29th place on PvPoke though? Is it worth maxing it out all the way to level 50? Maybe even best budding it? I don't think so. I don't think so. I didn't feel like it was much different than like a Shadow Machamp, which is a much cheaper Pokemon to build. Or a Pokemon like Virizion or Cobalion, which have interesting second typings and good coverage moves and more bulk. I think that's one of the problems with Hitmontop. The bulk is just pretty lackluster, honestly. And yeah, it does have high counter damage, but it also relies a lot on baiting. Like if shields are up and they shield a close combat or they no shield a triple axle, you can be in trouble. So personally, it's not a Pokemon I would recommend you build. But you know, if you have a lot of dust, if you have a Hitmontop you want to build, yeah, you can try it out and you can definitely have some success with it. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed today's video. Thank you very much for watching. I'll see you in the next one. Good luck with your battles, traders.